David Tennant. Thank you very much indeed.
I'm delighted when they phone again and want me to do something. I go, yes, I'm still with it.
What do you reckon?
Am I bothered?
It's quite mind-blowing, really, that you have so many great people all together.
It's fun to be involved in, you know, and I think that's hopefully what everyone gets out of it.
Stop it!
Comic Relief, Sport Relief have given me some of my most nerve-wracking moments in the entire time in the job.
Come on!
When I think of Comic Relief, my heart is lifted.
Turkey Twizzler.
When they ask you, you just jump to it.
Come along, my partner, David Furnish. We are leaving.
Get off your fat ass and give some money! No! Please?
OK, let's start off with some numbers. To date, Comic Relief has raised over £500 million, sold precisely 52,940,000 red noses, produced 19 singles, including 11 number ones, and transmitted 197 hours of telly. This programme is about some of the stories behind all that.
Whatever people are watching, we want them to watch it on Comic Relief night, so that they can go, wow, that was the best night of telly we've ever had.
You've brought someone along here with you today, Vicky.
That's right, yeah. This is my twin sister, Katie Pollard, yeah.
All right.
Yes, I can see the family resemblance.
Yeah, Pollard sisters in the house.
West Country, yeah.
The first Comic Relief we did could not have been more chaotic.
We're doing the plates now.
Are we doing the plates now?
We are, yes.
Wow, how wonderful.
So,
Slick is not a word you would use to describe the early shows.
hello, sir?
Hello?
Oh, hello, sir, yes.
Being the newest kid on the block, so to speak, I think sometimes Lenny and Griff, who are a little bit more experienced, would sort of sidle up to Richard and let them know they weren't keen at doing something particular, and then he would come over and present it to me as a marvellous opportunity.
I love you, Lenny.
And I remember one night quite late, and I think the phone lines were beginning to stall a little bit, and Richard said, we need something, we need to set a target that if people keep phoning and we raise X amount, we'll do something. Would you be gunk for us? And the gunk, although it's meant to be warm, is essentially, it's like a kind of thick semolina paste with green dye in or something. And the minute it's on you, it's quite unpleasant. When we first started, it was 3 blokes. It was easy.
Now, a lot of you are probably saying they've had 2 years to think about it. Surely they could have thought of some brilliant new late-night gags at the end of the show. But no, it's the 3 guys in the bed coasting routine again.
Now it's like, OK, cue Dermot O'Leary with wings flying in from the left. We need to blow up Johnny Vaughan over there. We got Chris Evans popping up like a mole over there.
It's just so much fun, and it is absolute bloody chaos.
Davina, it's over to you!
There's chaos happening in this studio because these guys know something. You see, I've got noses on the brain.
Comic Relief is one of those nights where you don't know what's going to happen, so you can't really plan too much or really rehearse. You have to just roll with it on the night. It's like I jumped into the TV. The amount of years I've watched Lenny doing Comic Relief and, you know, loved it as a kid and as an adult, and then to be there with him going, welcome to Comic Relief. What the hell am I doing here? It was just really surreal.
Show us your big one! Show us your big one,
Yeah.
How dare you!
When we opened the show, Lenny had to wear this ridiculous outfit that the Young Apprentice kids had designed for him. And it had like lights on the back and his bum said something on it. And it was like meant to shoot balls out of this arm and something else flashed over here. And it all kind of just didn't work, which was brilliant.
Here we go! It didn't work, Fern! Stop! I love live television, it is brilliant!
I think Richard and the team are really good at pacing it and kind of gauging how anarchic and how sad.
I don't think that people have ever had a real problem with the contrast between comedy and the serious things we're doing. I think the only problem has really occurred with some of the presenters on the night of television who have to turn this very sharp comedy corner or tragedy corner from, you know, and there we go, Ken Dodd, but no, Tanzania.
We cannot stress, both of us, how much good this will do, and here to show the kind of work that the money might go to...
Griff in particular was especially inept when it came to reading the auto cue. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. And he'd sit there and he'd be reading and go, OK, well, there we go, that's another marvellous moment there. Now, here's the story of a woman who lost all her children, you know. And he'd have to, and you know, don't, Griff, look ahead.
It's quite difficult because you are literally crying with laughter and then you're crying tears. But that's why you're so knackered at the end of the night, because it's just been one massive emotional roller coaster.
You know why we're all here, and you can really make a difference tonight, so please do help if you can. Meanwhile now, we have a very special treat indeed. It's Pop World's very own Simon Amstel. Yep. And he's with our comic relief heroes, although I have got J-Cross older than them, but there they are, McFly!
I think one of the things that's changed over the years is that comedians have started to think, I won't just do what Comic Relief asks. I'll do something I really want to do and something really excellent.
The next question is from Lauren, I believe. Lauren, hello, what's your question for McFly?
I remember the first time Catherine Tate came on Comic Relief, so I think she was in the studio and she, alongside Simon Amstel, interviewed McFly.
Why are you so rubbish? It was like, oh my gosh, I've arrived. I've been asked to do Comic Relief. I mean, I really did think that.
I'd never seen Catherine Tate before, so that was hilarious.
You think they're a bit rubbish.
I'm a big fan.
You think they're a bit rubbish.
I don't think they're rubbish at all.
You think they're a bit rubbish.
I think they're slightly rubbish, but no more than that.
The audience was full of McFly fans. And for the first couple of things before people thought, oh, I think this is a joke, there was like a little bit of, ooh, you know, a little bit of boo, slight booing or slight, hold on a minute, you can't say that about McFly. Are you gutted that Charlie left?
Okay.
It was really Comic Relief that actually gave me my my big kind of start, really.
McFly, they're not busted.
Are you calling me stupid?
No,
Are you calling me stupid, Dad?
No, I'm not.
Are you disrespecting me?
No.
Are you disrespecting my family?
No, I'm not.
Are you disrespecting me?
No, I'm not.
You're disrespecting my family.
I'm really not.
Are you calling me a pikey?
So you're saying we launched her career?
We basically launched her career, that's what we're trying to say, yeah.
It's for Comic Relief. This is, you know, McFly have done a lovely single. It's for Africa.
Am I bothered? Simon Amstel's grandmother, he told me, rang him, though, the next day and said, wasn't that girl atrocious?
But this is McFly.
But I ain't McBothered.
When Richard wants people to do things, he really lays on the charm, so he's incredibly charming, you know. You find people like Tony Blair going, I'm running the country and now I'm in a sketch saying, am I bothered? OK.
I looked at the diary in the morning and thought, so what am I doing this for? And then when I realised what I was supposed to do, I was thinking, oh my God, how on earth did I ever agree to do this?
I don't think there's anybody more surprised that the Tony Blair, Catherine Tate thing happened than Comic Relief. But, you know, what we often do is we, you know, send out a messenger in the hope that something will happen, and amazingly, it actually does.
I did get a call from Comic Relief to say there is interest from Downing Street about you doing a sketch with Tony Blair. And I really did say, what?
Nobody in politics or anywhere else in public life didn't want to be part of it all.
We didn't expect to be filming in Downing Street. We just didn't expect that. It was extraordinary to go into Downing Street to get your makeup on and then go and meet the Prime Minister in a school uniform. All right. He was on the phone and I come in, I think, and he was doodling, and I've got the doodle.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Lauren.
Lauren. I'm a bit pushed for time.
It was street because it just went, I heart Catherine Tate. Sweet. What can you expect? People do fall in love with their co-stars, though. We could have one of those things where they join up your name. Toecat.
We never really had a politician act before, and I think everyone was kind of worried.
Sorry?
But he did really well.
OK. Well, you've got to go and do it, and if you're going to do it, you might as well try your best at it.
You won't think it, right, but he's got proper little stumps for his feet, like them Japanese women who wear bandages in bed under their shoes.
Lauren.
He was just slightly getting the intonation off. It was just slightly off, because he was saying, am I bothered? Do you say to the Prime Minister, come on, Prime Minister, it's just not good enough. You can't say that. But we didn't need to because he said, can you do it for me? He said, because it's not, I can hear it's not quite right.
Lauren?
Yeah.
Am I bothered? What? Am I bothered?
I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but you always dream of as a politician. You know, because people are always coming to you, got a problem, there's and they go on about it and all the rest of it, and the problems are all real, and you should really care the whole time. And I know you should really care the whole time, but sometimes you just want to say, I'm not bothered.
Look at my face.
Right, what are you doing?
Is my face bothered?
No, wait a minute.
Does my face look bothered though?
No, are you messing with my mind?
Face bothered. Top shot, centre parts, trainers, small feet, rich tea, bandages, Ryan, Lease. I ain't bothered.
I watched most of it with my mouth like this. I can't believe we've been allowed to do that.
I don't think I've, apart from doing Prime Minister's Questions, ever been more nervous about doing something than doing that.
I don't care, because I ain't bothered.
My kids insisted that I watched it, so I sat down and watched it. I think I could have done that a bit better.
I just knew it was a bit of a coup. You know, I just thought that is a thing you can say. Oh, wow, I did that with the Prime Minister.
Out.
Definitely one of the more bizarre days in Number 10.
Towcat weren't the only people to fall under Cupid's spell. In 1995, another comic relief couple raised a lip-smacking £1 million.
And remember, if we reach 1 million, Dawn will get to kiss Hugh Grant.
I remember the Hugh Grant kiss was pretty brilliant.
If not, she has to kiss a frog, a Gurner, or Ulrika Johnson. So...
I think that when we first said Hugh Grant's backstage, it seemed unlikely. And most people probably thought, Mel Smith will come out in a suit and a wig.
Mr. Hugh Grant!
I couldn't have put two better people together.
Can I just say I'm sorry about this? I'm sorry, you've got to kiss...
No, why are you sorry?
Well, this is, kissing Dawn French.
No, it's fine, it's a pleasure. Pleasure.
When we knew Dawn was going to be wearing that dress, everyone, OK, that's going to be fabulous, because it's kind of responding to something which is very much of the moment, and she's going to play it, so, it's going to be hilarious. And getting Hugh Grant as well, who obviously is still a huge star, but at that time was just about the biggest movie star this country had. When people knew the kiss was coming, I remember in the studio, it was genuinely a very exciting moment.
I Oh, she's speaking in tongues again, Hugh. Yes. She's speaking in tongues. What she's trying to say is, Hugh, can you just lead her to the chaise longue? That's all she's trying to say.
They milked it so much that we actually got to 10 o'clock, and it was a choice between finishing the kiss or playing the theme tune that goes before the news.
Right. No, sorry, no. Sorry, I'm just not ready for it. We're rushing it all. Is there any chance we could talk?
We just literally said to the news people, if you want to be responsible for losing people's lives, then you will cut us off. But please don't.
Go for it, Hugh!
I mean, I remember we were once so over time that Jennifer and Dawn were in the middle of a sketch and I had to hold up a sign which just said faint.
Keep going. Yes. Keep going.
In the middle of the sketch, Dawn just fell over.
Are you out?
Some of the best moments have been live moments that have taken an odd turn. I certainly feel that things went unexpectedly well with Lenny and Elle Macpherson.
I did get to snog Elle Macpherson, and she did do the tongue thing. Which was very exciting for me. Although Dawn did run in like an exocet in slingbacks and threatened to knock her lights out, which was very funny.
I didn't even close my eyes. I didn't, I swear.
Please big it up for my guest tonight. Every boy wants to be in his boots.
and every man wants to be in his missus. Big it up for none other than Victoria and David Beckham.
Ali G interviewing Posh and Bex was brilliant.
It must be amazing going out with the Spice Girl, but in an ideal world, and no disrespect to your bitch, wouldn't...
It wasn't really an interview, because with him you don't get the opportunity to actually say very much.
In an ideal world, wouldn't you rather be with Baby?
They stumbled upon or got 3 or 4 absolutely perfect jokes.
When your kids grow up, do they want to be a footballer like their dad?
Or a singer, like Mariah Carey?
And the Beckhams were so gracious with it, you know, they sort of accepted it. We're going to get some stick now.
We just laughed through the whole thing, because what else can you do? You know, you've got to go with it.
I'm hoping that he'll grow up to be a footballer like his dad, and I'd like to grow up and be a singer like Mariah Carey.
Respect.
I love to poke fun at myself, and so does David, and so it was an exciting thing for us to get asked to do.
So tell me, is your little boy starting to put whole sentences together?
He's saying little bits and pieces, and yeah.
And what about Brooklyn?
There aren't that many times when you really see myself and David with our guard down. And that was us with our guard down. That's the me and David at home, when we're sitting on the couch, just having fun, just the two of us.
Sometimes we get lucky and there's a moment when somebody who is glowingly famous has not been caught on mainstream television yet. And certainly the Beckhams as a pair, you'd never seen relaxed and together. And the fact that they had to be relaxed and together in front of such a nasty bastard was funny.
David, they say posh people talk as if they got a plum in their mouth. Does your missus sound posh when she got your plums in her mouth?
I remember thinking, God, my mum and dad are in the audience. I was quite embarrassed.
He was going to say you're not actually meant to speak when you've got your mouth full, so you wouldn't actually have that problem.
Respect.
You did feel a bit sorry for them because it was sort of relentless. You know, you kind of thought a couple of those jokes, yeah, they can laugh them off, but then it was kind of like, yeah.
And it was all quite inappropriate, which was actually very funny. Wouldn't be if it was for anything other than comic relief.
But me heard you was well good at getting round the back and swinging your balls in,
They do say it's the way you bend it, I have to say.
We're comic geniuses. We are, just nobody knows about it yet.
It's a pleasure to watch these people trying to think, what can we do for comic relief that's original and that's got some flavour to it?
Yes, indeed, ladies. I can get quite used to this. Thank you very much. Au revoir. I'm a lady.
Bloody puff. I quite like it for it being edgy.
When my brother was in the hospital, the doctor played him this cassette. I keep it because it reminds me of my brother. My brother died.
I love the fact every year when I get in touch with Ricky, he emails back, says, I can't wait to do something that will make you extremely uncomfortable.
OK. All right, Ray, what are you up to, mate? What are you doing?
Just doing one of those comic relief appeals from Africa.
You're not in Africa, are you? This is BBC Television Centre. Yeah, I don't actually have to go there, do I?
We started as this live show where people did a fantastic amount of rude stuff, so I never thought that the comedy had to be tasteful to fit in with the charitable need.
You want a tip? Go on. Whenever I have to pretend to cry about the state of some little fat chav,
I think a lot of people go, oh, that's very disrespectful, but I think that it's good, it's healthy to be able to be criticised in some ways.
What's the point in actually going there? You can do this, the money comes rolling in. You don't have to inconvenience yourself. You don't have to be out there not showering for days. Wouldn't be a problem for you, but I wouldn't like it.
Ricky, mate, I've been a fool. Is there any way I could, get in on this?
That was kind of, I think, when that particular sort of strand of comedy peaked. That's as good as it's going to get.
I keep it because it reminds me of my brother.
OK, that should do it.
Hey,
Ricky, before you go, I've got a little surprise for you.
Brilliant.
Superb.
different types of comedy seem to live with each other on the night of comic relief. It's not just safe, middle, Englandy type stuff, but there's also, you know, edgier stuff later at night and stuff that's downright obscure even later.
You don't know what Tommy was all about. That's not the Tommy I knew. This is the Tommy I knew.
If you're in one of the earlier slots, obviously you're aware that there's probably a family audience watching, there'll be little kids watching, so you're not going to swear and you're not going to be too kind of dark or adult in your humour.
Can you act?
Can I act?
Yeah.
Not really, no. That was me acting then.
Oh.
The man who can't act.
You wouldn't show Billy Connolly running around naked as your first VT, you know, not unless you wanted to really upset people. Although, frankly, it's still an image that I can't get out of my head.
I will do one of my famous bare bum dances, round Eros. I will charge round here, bollocky buff, if you raise $1 million, and I'm sure you'll find it dead easy. Well, it was partly my idea and partly theirs. We were looking around for stuff to film.
And he said to me, if you want, I'll run naked around Piccadilly Circus.
And the Piccadilly Circus at 12 o'clock on a Friday afternoon is kind of heart-stopping.
I went into the Criterion Theatre to the foyer and went up to this young woman on the box office and said, is it okay if Billy Connolly comes in here and gets his kit off?
I said, yeah, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to do a naked... Oh, great! The girl's behind the desk.
Bill stripped, you know, stark bollock naked, out into Piccadilly Circus.
And there was buses going, beep, beep. The guys are going, yo, go for it, Billy. And so as you can put music on it, when I'm doing it, I sing to myself. And it's Christmas Day in the morning, you know that? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, on Christmas Day, on Christmas Day, da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee, on Christmas Day in the morning. And that gives me that Ponzi dance. And I danced round, and a drunk Irish guy got after me. And I thought, oh my God, I could hear him running up at the back. But I just got through in time into my safety net, and he was screaming and complaining.
And he said, do you think that's funny? And Billy said, yeah. And he said, I don't.
There's children and there's thing and there's... That's disgraceful. And he's pissed out his brain.
Billy by then had got his underpants on, so I had his pants, these stripy Y fronts, and was kind of pulling him backwards. And this guy's mate dragged him out.
And I escaped out the back door of the theatre and to stop the whole nonsense. And I ran away.
We got out of the theatre and we were going up Regent Street, and I decided to phone to see if everything was okay. And the director, who was still there, said, it's gone mad in Piccadilly Circus. All of the guys on the street have started fighting. The police have turned up and they want to know what's happened and who's in charge. So I got back to the office and there was a message on my voicemail saying, could I call Inspector Coogan of West End Central? So I phoned the police and they said, so we hear Billy Connolly was naked in Piccadilly Circus today. And I said, yeah, I'm really sorry. He said, well, what happened? I said, well, I couldn't stop him. He just got his kit off and ran around. I tried to talk him out of it, but he couldn't stop him. And, you know, I'm really apologise if there's any offence being caused. I said, but on this occasion, if you send us a signed photograph, we'll forget all about it.
We wanted to film that in Trafalgar Square, you know, Billy running around Nelson's column, but he wouldn't have it, you know, now we know why.
I'm sure lots of people do watch it just for the comedy. I doubt whether anyone just watches it for the appeal films, but I think a lot of people find that the mixture is quite a tantalising one in the end.
There has always been an historical interest in Africa, and in the past it's been to exploit, and now, you know, it may be the curse of our generation or the time that we live in, but I think our responsibility is to do something about that.
Dawn. And as the sun breaks through the piercing chill of night on the plain outside Coram, it lights up a biblical famine, now in the 20th century.
It all started with a 1984 report by Michael Burke on the famine in Ethiopia. That led to Live Aid, which in turn inspired Richard Curtis, Jane Chewson and a bunch of comedians to see what they could do to help.
There's a history of African appeal films, aren't there? You do get a sense of the shows in town. There's lots of guys with cameras looking windswept and interesting in cargo pants. What I find difficult is saying, could you move out of the way? And it's their house, you know. I live here. Back off, buddy. A child was trying to find this little bridge. The water was so high, he tried to step on it, but the water was so high, he got swept away and he drowned. The change has been not just to have these nameless icons of tragedy. That's it? Oh, don't give me all that, that's too much. You know, that kind of famine porn that they used to have, and I think we've tried to change that.
Ndwiga Marathi is 71 years old. He buys scrap metal to make cooking pots.
Historically, a documentary about Africa, however brilliantly incisive it is, it won't get as many people watching it as perhaps, you know, a familiar face.
Comic Relief know what they're doing. When they send us lot out there, you feel you have to step up to the plate. It's not someone else's responsibility, it's our responsibility. We all have to help. Let me take it for you. No.
Your reaction to what you're seeing is a way of other people sort of going, I sort of know them because I see them on telly. I think I know a bit about them, and I'm seeing them go on a journey.
When you see me, I'll be gallivanting and carousing through the bush here, windswept and interesting, looking as if I know what I'm talking about. But if you just look behind me here, you'll see lots of luggage. Well, sometimes you're in these wee shaky aeroplanes. I never feel too good in those wee Buddy Holly aeroplanes, you know. I like my aeroplanes to go. Apart from the film crew, there's people from Oxfam and all sorts of stuff. I'm not alone, you know, I'm not that brave. I don't even know how to buy tickets to get here. They're flown by born-again Christians, you know, and they're very nice guys. But there's a lot of praying going on, you know, and I'd much rather have fasten your seatbelts, you know. I'm not too keen on let's have a word with the Lord before we take off, in case we're in heaven before we'll... What?
I do remember once sending Lenny to Somalia and saying, it's fine now, it's all sorted, and then walking past a radio saying, fighting breaks out in Somalia again, and the thought that we'd sent Lenny to his death was not a good one.
What Somalia does have a lot of is gunmen and bandits and murderers who are trying their best to scare everybody witless. But we've got a job to do, and they don't frighten me. Much.
I would say Somalia was the scariest it's been, because it was literally lawless and people were getting hurt.
Apparently an argument outside the care compound. We'll just wait for a while. One man shot apparently with an AK-47, and we'll just wait until it calms down.
I mean, we were driving through the town and I pointed to this thing and it was the Red Cross building with a big cannon hole in it. And I thought, well, if the Red Cross has been fired on, what the hell's going on in this place? You know, we've got to be very, very careful.
Look at that, that's somebody's house.
We'd all promised to stay together at the beginning, and one of our numbers just decided to go home. He didn't want to be there anymore, so we had to find a flight to get him home. And he ended up being flown into a war zone because they had to refuel, so this poor bloke said, hooray, I'm going home. I got him, why are you landing? Why? Ah!
Nothing is achieved by standing outside. I feel so much better already. There's nothing like getting to know them and especially getting to like and admire them.
They respond to people who want to have a laugh, who want to have some joy. You know, yes, we're there to make a film, but if we can have a laugh as well, it's great.
What we're going to do is we're going to make this guy instantly hairy. There you go. There you go.
Asking for money can be, you know, a difficult thing to do with conviction.
Think of it this way, I'm in bloody Somaliland. As you can see, it's not the healthiest place in the world. Communicable disease abounds here. But we've done it, half the crew are shitting through the eye of a needle.
The way Billy looks into a lens and just kind of tells it like it is.
Get your fat arse up, move over to the telephone, say in a proud, happy voice, 08457 910 910, I'd like to donate some money. Boom, job done. Tell the truth. Tell the truth and shame the devil. You must always tell the truth. Would you like a wee glimpse of hell? You would think this is an illustration from a Charles Dickens book. The more they say, could you just go over there and walk towards us and we'll do an atmosphere shot? And I like to say, no, I won't. Because this is different. Let's me walk up there and I'll be walking up there for a purpose. This is emergency and you might wonder why I'm standing here, a big idiot from Scotland. I want to show you what the resources are here. You can see by your surroundings here. Everything's done on the extreme cheap. Aye! Yeah. Your duty is not to join in the crying. They cry plenty. Your duty is to point out the need.
In a neighbouring house lives Abarash. She's a young mother who's not only got AIDS, but is suffering from TB. She's one of the lucky ones because she's getting some drugs, but they're so strong she's completely knocked out by them. When we get out there, it's our job to go with the flow, but to keep going.
I can't believe this is what this woman is sleeping on. How can it be comfortable at all?
I think your professional head does come in and go, OK, well, come on, you've got to do this. This is awful, but just keep going.
Look at that mattress. It's disgusting.
I'm quite stoic, so I can get through things. Abarash nearly put me under. That was an astounding experience.
She shares this space with 4 brothers and her mum, and 3 sisters. That's impossible.
As if all this wasn't bad enough, a little face appeared in the doorway.
Oh, God.
To be filming and have a little child come in, and a mother virtually comatose on the floor of her house, and a little baby walks in a nappy, and the whole crew were like, oh no, oh no, oh no, and it was like you just had to keep going. She's actually better now, Abarash. She's got better.
Sometimes there's horror beyond even the darkest nightmare. In 1999, Paul Bradley went to Rwanda for comic relief to visit a project supporting widows of the genocide. He returned 2 years later with journalist Fergal Keane.
Paul often says that it was, a life-changing experience, and I think you could see that happening in front of your eyes.
Looking very well.
The films I like are when we're doing something and you learn who people are and what they do and what they've gone through. And those films, to me, seem to have the most impact.
Who did that one? That's Bradley. That's not. This is mine.
The thing that people probably don't know about comic relief is that it's cast. They sort of look around and they say, oh, well, they'd be quite good for that. And when I met Richard Curtis, he said, well, 2 people have turned this down. And I was sort of initially very excited to be going to Africa, and you sort of think, oh, great, And of course, when you get out there, you could just go, oh my God. The project that Comic Relief was sponsoring was called Avega Agozo.
And my husband was killed, like my entire family, my parents, my sister, and aunties and cousin and everybody.
I have never seen such cruelty exercised by man.
Like any survivor, you were thinking I'm the only one surviving. I met other friends who were also widowed, and it was so good to be talking. This is how we started Avega, but the Association of the Widows of the Genocide. In the beginning, very informal, between friends, to talk, to share clothes if you have clothes, because we have lost everybody, but we lost also everything.
I always think the hope of the world is from people like Esther and the people in Avega that I met.
I lived 1 year in England, so I knew EastEnders. It was so human that you even forget that he's a brilliant actor here.
I was totally unprepared.
One of the saddest things here is you see a little kid's skull, and there are many around here. Many. It's just such a waste. Such a waste.
There are times when I wished I hadn't gone. couldn't sleep for a long time after. I still have nightmares. I saw and heard things which I wouldn't have done, that have affected me deeply, upset me tremendously, made me feel useless.
He took me into the house where there was a bed and ordered me to take off my clothes, but I refused, so he raped me.
What he saw, what he heard, what he realized, it was unbearable.
Then there was another. He did not even undress himself. He ordered me to have sex with him as well.
Many of the women who endured the loss of their loved ones were raped as part of the campaign of violence and are now dying of AIDS.
At moments he cried, although he tried to go away to cry, or he tried not to show it, but he couldn't stop it. He has been wounded as well. You can't remain the same. If you remain the same, then you are not normal. This was so touching for the women. Here is a foreigner and he's crying because of what happened to me.
This cardigan is really important for Immaculée. It belongs to the past and it belongs to her journey during the genocide, so she's keeping it now.
For the women in Avega, in Rwanda, for the survivors, for somebody who is taking you for a human being, it is already something.
They don't have a shred of self-pity for what's happened to them. They're getting on with their lives and they're very positive, and I don't know how they do it. I think they must be superhuman. And I don't know.
If it was grant and money and no interest in the person, no interest in who we are and how we were denied our humanity, it has no meaning.
On the outskirts of Kigali is a very special place. It's a village built by Avega specifically for the widows and their children. The warm arms of Avega spread around families where there are no dads and where mums know they have little time left.
We have some organization who have been funding us, but then when Sudan became more fashionable, or Congo or something else, they moved to where they have to go, where they can more easily collect the money. The long-term commitment is so important. This is the joining together of Comic Relief and us. There is the hell and there is the hope.
The great thing is Rwanda is on the move now as a result of the distribution of malaria nets there. There's been a 50% drop in malaria. Kids are getting into school. We've done a project with coffee growers whereby they've grown a gourmet coffee that went on sale in Sainsbury's. That money then returned to Rwanda to help people grow more coffee, and so it can be a very virtuous thing. It's not just about handouts and charity.
Look, we don't give anybody money. We only do things.
Billy Connolly first went to Mozambique for Comic Relief during the war in 1989. He returned 6 years later and saw firsthand the difference that Comic Relief's money was making.
Families got all split in the war in Mozambique, and people stole children and gave children away to other families. We met in Albuquerque. His son and his daughter were still alive, and they were with this family in another part of Mozambique, and we had to drive up there to reunite them.
Albuquerque has already travelled over 200 miles to get this far, but even now, on the last leg of his journey, he can't be certain that the foster family will be prepared to give the children up and let them return home with them.
I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Just stop here and they're just over on our right.
Okay.
Right.
Stop. As we drove into a clearing, we saw a couple of children running off into the bush.
Ai, Santa Maria, graça a Deus, minha filha. Ai. Ai, minha mãe. Anda cá, Gonçalo.
We got up there. Me and Albuquerque are standing at the back of the truck. His daughter came up the hill. He made a noise that only human beings make in a kind of grief situation, or someone is told that the person's alive and they thought they were dead. I'm going quite funny just now talking about it. That's one instance I nearly cried. I had to turn away. What am I doing in the middle of all that? There's nothing I can do or say, you know. What you can do is just take a couple of steps back and put the camera in, and if it's not too much of an intrusion in their life, and watch it flowering. And people are just capable of the most extraordinary flowering. If you just point that thing at them, they just explode.
Ai, sofreram mesmo tanto por tanto no mato. Desgraçou mesmo a minha vida, tudo foi em vão. Mas graças a Deus sempre me tomei muito conta da minha filha. Ai, Santa Maria do Deus.
On that day I knew at the soles of my feet that we actually do great good.
When the film went back to the lab in the UK, the director got a message that one of the tapes had snapped while they were processing them and had been completely destroyed, and the footage on it was no longer usable. And he knew he'd had this extraordinary moment on film and was petrified that that's what was on the tape that had been destroyed. And so he was so anxious to get into the cutting room and see the rushes and see if arguably the most brilliant moment in the history of comic relief had not been lost in the lab.
I think sometimes that the UK side of Comic Relief's endeavours either gets overlooked or people just are not aware of it because the association is with Africa, and that's great, and that, you know, of course, that should carry on. But people say, especially in these times when there's a recession and when Britain is feeling it a bit, well, what goes to Britain?
Comic Relief has spent over £172 million in the UK, currently supporting over 1,300 projects.
A trip on a train and a walk in the woods is just what these kids need. A carefree day with other children who understand just how they feel.
It was brilliant having my head stick out the window of the train because it was really fun feeling the wind in my hair.
I was at this place called the American Club in near Stoke last year, and a guy, we were filming and we were talking to these people about this place and saying, you know, this is a great place and it's where people who've got mental illness issues can come and talk to people and have a cup of tea and do workshops and do art and stuff like that.
They all mingle together here, everybody. There's no barriers. Everyone's treated equal.
And this guy came and he said, I was going to kill myself this morning. He said, but I heard you guys were coming and I decided to come here instead. And it we all went like that, you know. Okay.
You can see some of them get better, others are fine 1 month, down the next. You know, that's how it goes on all the time. But it's nice to see someone coming in and slowly getting better.
Things like that happen and they hit you like a truck because you realise that what Comic Relief does has a seismic effect on people wherever they are in the world, not just in Africa.
People don't see disabled people as kissable, I suppose.
Listen to me, won't you listen, won't you listen, won't you listen to me? Together we can break down this wall.
We know there are homeless kids here. We know there are kids in trouble here. We know there are young people who need help here. We know there are, people with disabilities who have carers who don't have any time off, and we are making sure money goes to them and help goes to them.
Children are being bought for sex in towns and cities throughout Britain. They're being forced into it by ruthless men who control them to make money from them.
People, particularly in this country, find it very difficult to watch themselves and go, well, God, we need help too.
June gave up her job as a banqueting waitress 12 years ago so that she could look after Robin in his own home. June's a carer. She does one of the toughest jobs in the world. It's unpaid. There's no days off.
Comic Relief has helped hundreds of missing young people get back home to their parents.
At the end of the day, it was just a case of just trying to find my daughter.
Seems you never realize a good thing till it's gone.
I think that Comic Relief is something which is a astonishing credit to the British people because of their, continued and remorseless generosity.
I take my daughter to school on Comic Relief Day just because I wanted to see children wearing red wigs and their parents' clothes, and the teachers dressed as Batman and Spider-Man saying, "Thanks a lot, Len."
On Red Nose Day, I always make sure that I walk with the kids to school. I remember the Pants to Poverty year, and it was quite exciting, all of us putting our underpants on over our trousers and going off to school like that and walking up the road. And even then, they were a little bit more embarrassed about it than I was, of course. But when we went to school and I saw like most of the kids in the playground were joining in, that was exciting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah! Yeah, 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 yeah!
There are so many ways that you can get involved without having to spend extra cash. Buy carefully at the supermarket. What product's got the red nose on it? Buy that one.
Red Nose Day is such a great idea, and I'm sure it was Curtis's own idea, Richard Curtis. If it wasn't, I'm sorry for the guy whose idea it was.
Red Nose was come up with in a meeting somewhere. There's somebody who's responsible for it and have neither been paid nor praised.
The young ones were sitting round a table and a man from an advertising company, Peter Crossing, and we were talking about, wouldn't it be great to have a symbol? Wouldn't it be great to have a day where everybody would wear a symbol of support for people needing help in Africa and the UK? And Peter sat at the table and just drew a red nose around his nose.
I think when the red nose was first thought of, it was slightly shouted down as being a bit sort of old-fashioned and clowny and Italian. But people did instantly realise that basically it's impossible to take a picture of someone with a red nose on and not be cheered up by it.
Earlier on, I can't remember why, but they were made out of a sort of plastic and the edges of which you could use as razor blades. So we used to wear them, and within about 5 minutes you take it off and you would have almost permanent scarring around the end of your nose.
Policemen directing traffic with a red nose on. Nobody saw that coming. British people love silliness and will excuse silliness in anybody. People who drive to work dressed as Noddy with a blue hat and a bell, they go, yeah, he's silly, leave him alone.
Custard is great, and cross-gender dressing. I've just seen a dolphin driving a bus. What the hell's going on? It's Comic Relief, okay.
The next stop is Old Trafford.
We sort of go to school kids and scouts and things like that and say, please help. They're so enthusiastic, and what's great is those guys end up being in the bands 10 years later. And so they always go, we used to watch Comic Relief when we were at school and we did everything and we want to donate our record to you.
I remember it when I was growing up, all the different red noses you could get. You pay £1, don't you, or something, you could wear your own clothes to school.
I was always the idiot that forgot that it was non-uniform day. Came in with my uniform.
It's all about you. It's all about you, baby. It's all
Whoever's doing the single that year, it's always a massive deal.
It's all about you.
Me and Danny went to Richard Curtis's office and we played him some songs that we were working on.
We had a vote, just the 5 people in the office saying which one did you like most. And I thought It's All About You was a perfect song.
Yesterday you asked me something I thought you knew. So I told you with a smile, it's all about you.
Well, I was in the video for that, which is very exciting. It gave me major kudos with my children. I ended up in the video for that somehow, and I ended up getting to play the flute. I don't know, I'd never even played a flute, so I was making it up as I went along, really. And they ended up cutting it, so I had like 6 hands, like massive, long, big, weird octopus woman playing flute.
Johnny Vegas.
Fern Cotton.
You're out.
Brilliant.
Graham Norton, Simon Amstel.
Demo.
Ruby Wax. Ruby Wax.
Hey, well done. Harry Hill.
It's not your turn. That blonde one who does extra factor.
That's Holly Willoughby, but Kate Thornton. Right.
No, that one who was on the desk was Graham Norton.
Yeah, Kate Thornton.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Who's the guy who drops the thing in the trumpet?
Oh, the guy from Cold Feet, isn't it?
No, it's not in Cold
Coupling?
Feet.
Guy from Coupling? The one with the curly hair?
No, not him. No, he wasn't there.
His name's Ben Miles. There he is, boys, right there.
It's all about you. It's all about you.
Strangely, I remember thinking when I was in Ethiopia driving from Addis Ababa to Shashamene or something in 1985, I had the idea of Cliff Richard and the Young Ones actually doing a single together. That was my first idea for comic relief.
The story of our singles is quite interesting. They were comedic at the start. There was a period when doing a track for a charity was a bit uncool, and it was really quite hard. Probably the big breakthrough with music was when we did a track with the Spice Girls.
I've never felt that I'm cool. But if everyone said we were cool, that's great.
It was massive. I remember we did the launch at Madame Tussauds, and the street was lined with thousands of fans. It was, people were screaming, the paparazzi were out, and we kind of went, wow, this is something strange has happened here. This is a new phenomenon for us.
When the Spice Girls did Who Do You Think You Are for Comic Relief, this was 1997, when we were huge. You're sailing out in the wrong direction. It's lucky we're not too choreographed, so it didn't really matter that we was all just banging into each other and didn't really know what we were doing, because we never knew what we were doing anyway. We just made it up as we went along. Dawn French playing me was, she was great. I had a bit of hair envy because she had a much better bob than I had. What a great way to raise money. And that record was #1 in so many different countries as well, off the back of Comic Relief.
I guess of late now we've tried to have our cake and eat it, so we've done a pop track and we've done a comedy track alongside it.
When the day is dawning on a Texas Sunday morning, how I long to be there with Marie who's waiting for me there.
That was our year. That was our year. But that will be more remembered than us.
Life. Crying over Amarillo and sweet Marie who waits for me.
The funniest moment ever, probably in my life, would be Ronnie Corbett falling off the travelator thing and woo, had a wobble and just sort of skidded off the edge. I could watch that again and again.
That track alone raised us over £1.5 million. None of us could have predicted that it would be such a phenomenon.
That's the perfect thing, when a comedian does something they want to do, when they do it perfectly, and when it turns out to be spookily profitable.
Baby, when I met you there was peace unknown. I set out to get you with the fine-tooth comb. I was soft inside. There was something going on.
When we thought, what would we do this year for a single, the idea of getting Gavin and Stacey, and then the fact they actually wanted to do Islands in the Stream, was a very happy moment.
From one lover to another,
Something like that.
What could possibly go wrong?
We had this meeting at Universal, didn't we?
And the meeting started by saying, it's very important these days that we keep the costs of the videos down, really. And then we turned to Ruth and said, so have you got any ideas for the video?
And I went, well, I'm a big believer in reach for the stars and you catch the moon. So I'm just wondering what you thought about Bryn and Nessa going to a karaoke competition to sing the song in Vegas. And there was this sort of tumbleweed moment.
And Las Vegas it was.
Action! We can kiss goodbye to that championship. She's blown a gasket, she has.
Hang on. I remember thinking, Vegas, you're out of your mind. But then slowly going, oh yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Each other, from one lover to another.
No seatbelts. It's a health and safety disaster.
The part of me that worries I look a little foolish.
How can we be wrong?
But for Comic Relief, we as a country would not look at the issues to do with Africa and poverty in the same way. example, us trebling the amount of aid to Africa, well, that's a lot of taxpayers' money that has gone to do that. But it would have been a lot harder to have justified that without the movement that Comic Relief and the broader campaign became.
Every 3 seconds in one of the poorest countries in the world, a child dies as a result of extreme poverty. Every 3 seconds.
I'm very surprised, retrospectively, about the educational value of Comic Relief and how, by the time we got to the Make Poverty History campaign, so many people thought Africa and poverty was their business.
Don't hit me. Please don't hit me.
Hello, caller, police emergency.
Exchange, I think they've moved away from the receiver. It was a female sent in distress.
Please, no, please.
Comic Relief helped to establish the first ever national 24-hour free phone line for victims of domestic abuse. This vital service is now funded by the government.
The 24-hour helpline for domestic violence is a very good example of Comic Relief having taken an issue, put it on the agenda, and actually established it in such a way that in the end it's something that's worth government putting its backing to.
It costs £50 to turn an ordinary mobile phone into a phone for safety. And by paying for a phone, you could be standing shoulder to shoulder with women at the exact time that they really need you.
If Comic Relief comes in and says, look, we'll put in $1 million if you match us with $1 million, that's a good motivation for a government spending money on a serious issue.
It's great to stand here and say, I'm very, very proud of you. Don't listen to them about talk of compassion fatigue, eh? Compassion fatigue.
And the public have been so generous over the years, and it seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger every time there is a Comic Relief.
It's a force for good, and it's a joy to be part of.
This is about individuals, human beings, having their lives turned around.
It is just a chance that you are born on this side and I'm born on the other side. You have what you have here, you can fulfill all your needs now. But it's just a chance.
When people see somebody hurting, they want to help ease that hurt. And that's a great impulse to have, and we should preserve that.
It has been a galvanizing force for action. It has caught the imagination of people in this country and around the world. And long may it continue to be a force for progress and good.
It allows us to be involved in a kind of a greater cause and sit at home and have a few laughs as well. And that's really just, a remarkable thing.
Hello, me again. Well, that's about it. Thanks for staying with us. The world has clicked on another hour, and in 907 hours and 25 minutes from now, there'll be another Red Nose Day. I look forward to seeing you there.
The changing face of Brad Pitt as Benjamin Button and Meryl Streep on her BAFTA-nominated role as a nun in film 2009, next on BBC One Wales.